I'm considering what's next. President Clinton, of course, wrote a very successful presidential memoirs with 10,000 pages or something. I'm thinking of something really fun and creative for mine. You know, maybe a pop-up book. Consider a number of titles. Which do you like? How W got his groove back? Who moved my presidency? Or Tuesdays with Cheney?
I have a better idea. How about If George Were King?
If this were a dictatorship, it'd be a heck of a lot easier. Just so long as I'm the dictator.
Think about it. In the past 6 years, this president has assumed more power than any president in history. He has often characterized these unprecedented assertions as necessary in the war on terror. But you must admit, he seems to be enjoying himself.
I'm the decider, and I decide what is best.
Yep, 6 years of deciding what's best, most of the time with a Republican majority in Congress, kind of like a royal court. The idea is not so far-fetched. This president has never shied away from new ways to assert executive privilege. For instance, the warrantless wiretapping of American citizens. For years, a special court has existed to review applications to tap phones of suspected terrorists or criminals. Investigators can even tap phones and ask for a warrant later if the matter is urgent. But in Bush's realm, phones can be tapped at any time without warrants, and no one needed to know. Not the judges, not Congress, not the people. Oh, wait, that really happened, didn't it? Now, if it weren't for the press, we'd still be in the dark. And speaking of the press.
Without commenting on the Libby trial, then, can you tell us whether you authorized any of these three to do that, or did they authorize without your permission?
Yeah, thanks, Pete. I'm not going to talk about any of it.
They're not under investigation, though, sir.
Peter, I'm not going to talk about any of it.
How about pardon, sir? Many people are asking whether you might pardon
Not
somebody.
going to talk about it, Peter. Would you like to think of another question? Being the kind man that I am, I will recycle you. You like that one, huh? Yeah. Recycling? Yeah.
That took care of one of my questions as well, sir. But,
If that's the case, sit down. Next question.
There'd be no pesky questions from the press. And if you notice the rest of the press corps cracking up at the president's refusal to comment, we played the straight man pretty well. Now, if Bush were king, there would be no opposing party, no Congress to hold the president accountable.
On this very important matter, I would extend a hand of friendship to the president, just to say to him, calm down with the threats. There's a new Congress in town.
Off with her head. If Bush were king, only his party would have a voice in the government. Think about that one. Forget gay marriage. Gays wouldn't be outed. They'd just be out. The minimum wage would never have been raised. Health care would be completely privatized and profit-driven in both cost and quality. HIV education would be illegal, maybe contraceptives and condoms as well. Science would be ignored, and intelligent design would reign in the classroom. Unions would be abolished, while connected contractors would run every public utility badly. And the war in Iraq, if Bush were king, we would have unanimous agreement on the war.
If Congress fails to pass a bill to fund our troops on the front lines, the American people will know who to hold responsible.
And of course, we'd be winning.
Combat operations in Iraq have ended. In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed.
See how easy it is? Don't you feel better already? And as for those 8 U.S. attorneys fired under a cloud of controversy, there would be no controversy. According to the Attorney General's former Chief of Staff, Kyle Sampson, in his testimony today, quote, the distinction between political and performance-related reasons for removing a U.S. Attorney General is largely artificial. A U.S. attorney who is unsuccessful from a political perspective is unsuccessful. Well, how about all those other personal matters in the King's Court? Former White House counsel Harriet Miers would now be a Supreme Court justice. Michael Brown would still be head of FEMA because, as you know, he did a heck of a job. Donald Rumsfeld would still be Secretary of Defense because of his marvelous handling of the Iraq War. And former gay prostitute Jeff Gannon, a mysterious member of the White House press corps, might now be sitting in Helen Thomas's seat. Oil and coal companies would be allowed to drill and dig wherever they want. CEOs could regulate their own industries. Halliburton could have all the no-bid contracts at once with authority to overcharge at will. Its subsidies and tax breaks would be intact despite it relocating to Dubai. And of course, there would be the court jester.
This man will never stop. Look at him jumping up and down and ready to hop. He's got so much to prove. And tell me you never saw this man move. Doing the dance, the Karl Rove dance. Doing the dance, the Karl Rove dance.
Ooh, Karl Rove is a stitch. Everything will be played for laughs.
You and the press certainly have had a lot to report lately. Take the current controversy. I have to admit, we really blew the way we let those attorneys go. You know, you botched it when people sympathize with lawyers.
As of October 4th, 2006, President Bush has essentially rewritten 810 federal laws by those signing statements. He's using federal agencies to do political battle for the 2008 elections. He's made it clear the U.S. Congress should have no voice in the war in Iraq, and on it goes. My beef has nothing to do with partisan politics. My concern is constitutional, focused on preserving a nation governed by the rule of law, not the whim of man. I wish my fears were lodged in fancy, but the past 6 years have proved that the impossible can happen. We'll get what we settle for. If a democracy is the goal in this country, it must not be taken for granted. We founded this nation to escape one King George. Let's not substitute him with another. That's the Crier Wire.